It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you have trouble identifying birds with complex head patterns. Field guide authors have a long history of using inconsistent and confusing terminology to describe the feathers on the head of a bird. In this video, I hope to clarify head feather patterns for you. My goal is to have you confidently identify sparrows and other birds with complex head feather pattern. That includes those streaky sparrows, longspurs, and pipits. Let's go over to my computer and look at some photos. Feathers are not evenly distributed across a bird's body. They are in groups or feather tracts with gaps between. The feather patterns on this Townsend's warbler closely match the actual feather tracts. So let's take a look. Here, the black stripe on the top of the head is the crown. Next, the supercilium or eyebrow goes over the eye. The auriculars or ear coverts are behind the eye and below it. The malar feathers come off the bill and along the jawline, and then we have the black throat. There are some other feathers that this bird has. Orbital feathers under the eye. There's a few rows under and sometimes over the eye that might be differently colored, for instance, in an eye ring. There are short feathers between the eye and the bill called the lores. The feather tracts are visible even when they're not differently colored from the rest of the bird. Here on this northern flicker, notice that the crown starts kind of brown and fades to gray. The auriculars are visible even though they're gray. The red mark is obvious. These are the malar feathers, and the throat is gray. The head feather patterns on birds don't always match the exact feather tracts. So let's look at this white-crowned sparrow again. The crown is white and black with a central or median crown stripe through the top. On the side is the lateral crown stripe, which is black. We still have the white supercilium, but it flares out and is actually partly white crown also. The auriculars of this bird are gray, but the top edge behind the eye is black. It merges with some black in the nape. To this point, field guide authors agree on the terminology, but from here on out, it becomes a little bit confusing. The pattern on the feathers don't always match exactly the feather tracts, and this is where field guide authors start going in different directions. I'm going to use David Sibley's terminology because I find it to be the most accurate. All right, let's review. The white stripe through the center of the crown is the median crown stripe. On the side is the lateral crown stripe that's darker. The supercilium is very wide on this white-throated sparrow. And notice that the front of the supercilium is yellow. We'll get to that in a minute. The auriculars have a dark line on the top. This is an eye line. It comes back from the eye to the end of the auriculars. On the bottom edge of the auriculars is a dark line that forms the mustache. Underneath that is the sub-mustachial stripe. It's white. And then finally, this dark stripe along the bird's throat is a lateral throat stripe. This is where different authors disagree. Some authors call both of these dark stripes whiskers, and some call this lateral throat stripe a malar stripe. So let's just not use malar stripe at all. If you want to talk about malar feathers, those are probably the white ones there. Let's review the auriculars and the malar. The auricular feathers are here, the malar feathers are here. On the top of the auriculars is the eye line. On the bottom of the auriculars is the mustache line. Underneath that is a submustachial stripe, and below that is the lateral throat stripe. The white throat contrasts with the very dark upper breast. Let's go to the next bird. The lark sparrow is one you see illustrated very often for its complex head pattern. We have a pale median crown stripe, a rusty wide lateral crown stripe, a very broad white and buff supercilium. The lores between the bill and the eye are black, extending a black eye line behind the eye on top of the auriculars. It actually curves around a little bit behind the auriculars. Notice you can see the white orbital feathers under the eye, and the bottom of the auriculars starts a mustache line that's black, but it's short and it fades into the chestnut auriculars. Under that, a broad white submustachial stripe and a very dark wide lateral throat stripe. That completes the head pattern of this bird. On this bird, we have a gray median crown stripe, a chestnut lateral crown stripe with dark streaks. The supercilium starts light and turns gray. The lores are fairly pale. The eye line starts behind the eye on top of the auriculars. It's got a very messy mustachial stripe. It has a whitish cream submustachial stripe. And notice that the lateral throat stripe starts narrow, but it becomes very triangular and thick very fast and wraps around the submustachial stripe. Throat's white to start, but has some little spotting of inverted chevrons as it reaches toward the breast. So now, go out and find some of these sparrows and other birds with complex feather patterns and have more confidence that you can name the feather patterns and match them to birds in the field guide. If you found this helpful, please click the like button. Help YouTube show this to other people who might find it useful also. Thank you.